Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new, my name is Lily and I'm a Chinese transracial adoptee. Every week I post advocacy videos telling my experiences as a transracial adoptee in hopes to connect with other adoptees and remind ourselves that we are not alone. And I've also started weekly vlogging just to show my life outside of adoption. I'm a PhD candidate. I'm having a bunch of fun in Austin, Texas. So if that's something you're interested in, there's a subscribe button right there. Click that and we can get into the video. So hey everyone, welcome back. Like I start all of my videos, there's going to be 2 videos recommended specifically for you based on your viewing algorithm. That'll be at the end of the video, so stick around for that. For everyone who clicked and subscribed and is watching and following me along, thank you so much. It means so much to me, and if you're an adoptee, I really hope that you can find connection and find validation through my videos. I know that when I share, it can be kind of scary at first, but having adoptees tell me that they're also experiencing these types of things reminds me that I'm not alone. And so that really helps me too. I'm posting to document my life and kind of like a video journal for myself. And it's just an added bonus that others may get something out of it too. So thank you so much for watching, and let's get into the topic. I think today I want to talk about adoption in the media. This was a topic suggested to me by someone on Instagram. I'm really sorry I didn't write down anybody's names when they were giving me topic ideas, but if you follow me on Instagram and you suggested this video is because of you. So thank you so much. Yeah, so adoption in the media. And by media, I'm going to talk about consumption and entertainment. And so, yeah, I read a lot, and adoption shows up randomly in that type of thing, and it's always a plot twist, and it's gotten so annoying. And I used to read a lot of psychological thriller books and that kind of thing, and adoption was really prevalent in those types of books. It was always this adoptee ends up being a serial killer or something because they had a terrible childhood and a terrible background and they're getting revenge on everybody. Or let me think. There was another one where this wasn't even a thriller. It was a book where this woman was just navigating life. I guess you would call it general fiction, maybe even contemporary romance. And she realizes that she was adopted or the product of an affair or something. And then there was this whole thing about her not being included in her biological father's will. It's just these things that pop up in all these different places, and sometimes it can be triggering and sometimes it can be annoying. I know that adoption is really showing up on television now, and so let me think. I watched the first season of what's it called? Handmaid's Tale, and that was pretty triggering to watch for me, honestly. If you know anything about it, I'm sure you can understand why it would be triggering to me as an adoptee. So there's that. And then more specifically and more recently, there's been Little Fires Everywhere. And I know a lot of adoptees have mixed feelings about that. I actually really did enjoy the book. I know that Celeste Ng has had some controversial statements and things that are problematic. The book, I didn't have a problem with. It was focusing on motherhood and what makes a good mother, and is raising a child in their birth culture and, acknowledging their race and trying to raise them as Chinese more important than having a family that just has a lot of wealth and is able to give them more opportunities, perhaps send them off to private schools and that type of thing. And so I really enjoyed that discussion, and I enjoyed the look at how important a biological connection is. I don't want to spoil the book or the TV show for any of you who want to read or watch it, but I really like the book. The show, while important, especially for people who are just now getting into the race and adoption talk, just wasn't really for me. I'm a book snob. I'm sorry. So I went into the TV show thinking that it would be a lot like the book. And while the main plot is the same, there's a lot of added stuff in, and it's just very much in your face and just, it's a lot. And it is very much addressing white privilege and white feminism and this need for your biological mother, but there were so many subplots and stuff that I was just kind of getting really overwhelmed. I still enjoyed the adoption conversation in the show. That was more triggering to watch than watching Handmaid's Tale for me. I think it's because it was specifically talking about transracial adoption, and while the baby was not born in China, she was born to a Chinese immigrant, and so they're talking about Chinese transracial adoption and how you need to raise that child with racial mirrors and in their culture and do more. Like, you have to do more as a mother to support that child fully. It was definitely triggering to watch when the Chinese mother was being written off for being irresponsible and unable to support her child. And then you have all these white characters who are like, oh no, like, I'm totally the best mom because I have the most money, and oh, we had fortune cookies at her baby shower and stuff. And like, we totally appreciate Chinese culture, because I've definitely seen real life examples of that, and I definitely see how hurtful it is to adoptees who are really trying to reclaim their identities and to love themselves, but they're really unable to do that because they haven't been taught to love themselves. So, Little Fires Everywhere, Chinese adoptee or not, it can be triggering for any adoptee to watch, any birth mother to watch. It was very much in your face. And so I would recommend reading the book first. Even if you don't like reading, I really enjoyed it. The focus was more on motherhood and not all of these new subplots, which again are very important, and they really are teaching audiences about white feminism and these fake woke people and all of this stuff. But where I'm at in my journey, it was just too much to watch, and I almost stopped because I couldn't watch any more of it. It was just, my mind was on overload watching the whole thing. I think Little Fires Everywhere I enjoyed more than other things was because, first, the book was written by a woman of color, and the show was, I think, produced or created, I don't really know the terms honestly, but by an adoptee. So they definitely had that perspective in there, and they were able to really show more of the complexities and these needs for the biological connection. Unfortunately, I don't really see much of that in media ever, and I honestly tend to avoid things that are portraying adoption, usually because an adoptee is not involved in the creation, first mothers aren't involved. A lot of times it is by adoptive parents or adoptive relatives who just had their glimpse into one part of the narrative and shares adoption as either this amazing, beautiful thing or as this thing that is the root of why an adoptee becomes a criminal or something like that. And so I really try to stray away from that. Lately, I've been reading a lot of young adult novels about people of color, and I think it's because I really was lacking that growing up, and the books are so much more complex than I thought they would be. I find most of my representation in books, and that's just because I love reading, and I also love writing. So seeing the need for more transracial adoption stories written by adoptees, that's kind of what's prompting me to be writing my novel right now. It's slow, but I'm about 30% of the way through, and I know that it might be years or maybe never that it gets published, but I like the fact that I'm, doing it and I'm putting in the effort, and maybe other transracial adoptees are going to do the same thing. But I really just see this need for adoption stories written by adoptees. And I really see that need for the generations younger than me who are growing up, and they're needing this representation. They want to see themselves represented on the bookshelves. They want to see themselves represented on TV. And we just don't have the resources for that. And so if you're a creative person, or if you just have this idea that you want to write something, you want to make a TV show, you want to make music or paint something, I seriously encourage you to do it, because I know adoptees are really struggling to find representation, and I still struggle with it. And I'm serious. I was looking around, And I was like, I just need to create something. And that's kind of like what happened with this channel. I was ready for connection. I was ready to see more representation and get validation, and I just couldn't really find it. The Chinese adoption spaces were very much parent run, and there weren't a lot of adoptees speaking up. And then I realized, oh, well, I'm one of the oldest Chinese adoptees, so it makes sense that I might be one of the first people in my small group of older Chinese adoptees, like, you know, looking for this, because when I was younger, I definitely wasn't interested. Maybe I would have been interested in it if I did read a book about Chinese adoption by a Chinese adoptee when I was younger, and then realized, hey, you know, there are a lot of us out there. There's this older generation that's here and creating these safe spaces for us, but I just didn't really have that. And I know it's still not that prevalent. So I guess the thing is, like, the representation in the media now with adoption, I'm not happy with. It's, you know, there are some good examples. And I think Little Fires Everywhere is one of those good examples that, yeah, every example is going to have its issues. Every example is going to have its problems. But that one is way more straightforward, blunt, in your face about more complexities with adoption, more complexities with race. And because it was produced by Reese Witherspoon's company and it has Kerry Washington in it, I know they have a lot of fans, so they're all tuning in and watching this. And hopefully it gets a conversation going. Hopefully it makes people take another look at adoption and what their opinions on adoption are. But for young adults, I'm not really seeing much, which is why I decided to just start writing a book. And I have this series to hopefully connect. And I know this isn't really entertainment, but it's at least something to show that they have some representation and some validation out there. So yeah, that's my hopes for more to be there for us. And for us to do that, we need to be the ones to create it, because I really don't think adoptee stories need to be written by non-adoptees. So that's the video for today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that if you haven't checked out Little Fires Everywhere, maybe that's something you want to do. I'm not sponsored. I just really liked the book. The show is meh for me, but it is one of the most, I don't know, well-known, in-your-face pieces of media about adoption, so I definitely recommend checking that out, but be aware, it might be triggering. As I've said before, I am posting advocacy episodes every Tuesday, unless you all tell me that there's a better day to post, because maybe, you know, Tuesdays are big homework day or whatever. But I'm going to be posting every single week for as long as I can. So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for those 2 episodes that are recommended specifically for you, and I will see you next Tuesday.